Good morning, Teach Better family. Brad Hughes with you for the Daily Drop-In in for Ray Heward, and I have with me the man, the myth, or the Mr., Dr. Dave Schmittou. Good morning, Dr. Dave. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Brad Hughes, man, you are an early riser on Fridays, buddy. I'm glad to be here, though.
Likewise, yeah, it's 3 a.m. Canada time, Canada Standard Time here. It's actually 3 a.m. everywhere in Canada at this moment. Dave, you're coming to us from the beautiful state of Florida. You're in the Northern Panhandle area of Florida, is that right?
I am where it's 1:30 because we do everything a little bit differently here in Florida. So,
And I know it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I think we're a little bit too geared up for the Wednesday brain break, but we're here for Daily Drop-In with you every single morning, Monday to Friday on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. It's the Teach Better Daily Educator Morning Show. Dr. Dave and I are here to ease your way into the morning, maybe with some fun, with some frivolity, definitely some shenanigans, some good news, some moments of inspiration and moments of gratitude. We've got the holidays of the day, and we're going to be recapping a great week of turning data into action. And Dave, I think you and I are going to put to rest the whole data debate today. So I'm looking forward to digging into these highly complex and groundbreaking topics with you.
sounds good.
We're ready to get started. We'll see you right after this break. Make sure that you refill your coffee, grab a cup of tea, and get somewhere comfortable. Join us in the comments this morning. Looking forward to it. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to the Daily Drop-In, the Teach Better Educator Morning Show, with you every single weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Twitch. I just wanted to change up the order for you, Dr. Dave. And we're getting the morning started with some educator talk. We're getting some morning started with some good news, some brainstorming, an opportunity for us to take some intentional time to find out what's on your mind. What do you need? How can we help? And of course, we're going to dig into the data debate. Dr. Dave Schmittou, for those who haven't yet met you, who are maybe new to our network, tuning in for the first time, please tell our audience who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Absolutely. First of all, God bless anybody that's tuning in for the first time right now on a Friday morning and think that this is a representation of a Teach Better team. I apologize. I am simply a pinch hitter here, trying my best to help out a little bit. But I am Dave Schmittou, Director of Leadership and Development for the team. I jokingly say I'm the real DLD for the team. I get to hang out in Florida with my amazing family, living life. I do a lot of training, a lot of workshops, a lot of facilitation with schools and districts. And every once in a while, I get to hang out with rock stars like you, Brad. So that's me.
I love it. And Dave, I'm just gonna gently challenge your pinch hitter status. You're like a pinch hitter if you were like the cleanup hitter for every major league team. Like when you step into the batter's box with me today, I know that I'm in excellent hands. I'm going to get lots of support, and we're going to have a fantastic conversation. So I'm going to say no pinch hitter status for you. I'd say you're a daily drop-in slugger, my friend.
Well, let me be real about that. You know, the pinch hitter, if you're watching baseball, the manager pulls in the pinch hitter when they think the guy that's supposed to be up to the plate can't get the job done. So they bring somebody else in. Jeff Gargas was supposed to be here today. And the coach, we'll just call the coach, the manager, Ray Heward,
right,
gave me the sign and said, we need a heavy hitter here today. So Jeff is, who knows where Jeff is, hanging out in the dugout somewhere, and I get to hang out with you today.
Yeah, Jeff's counting pitches, and he's keeping track of the lineup for the manager. And General Manager Ray Heward is in the comments this morning. And I've always wanted to say this: Ray Heward is on assignment. Ray Heward is on assignment this morning, doing some district work on behalf of Teach Better Team. So we're really grateful that Dave and I can co-anchor the show. We've got Elijah in the comments. Nikki is in the comments. Welcome. And if you're tuning in, let us know where you are, who you are, and what you do. We would love to have you along for the ride. Dave, as you look back on your week this week, what are some highlights and what are some challenges that have come up for you this week?
Well, I'm going to say that my week this week began on Saturday. Is that fair? Is it fair for me to say that on Saturday, when we had our amazing 12-hour live, that was one of the highlights of my week? Be able to hang out with you on Brain Break, listening to you hum, Living on a Prayer was truly the most special moment of the week for me. But also, I just had an opportunity to connect with dozens and dozens and dozens of educational leaders this week. Lots of people reaching out, worried that their head's going to start looking like mine because they're pulling their hair out right now, just asking for some support. So I've been grateful that people have been leaning in and that we've been brainstorming together.
Dave, I can't believe that Daily Drop-In was only, 12-Hour Live was only a week ago. It feels like a lifetime ago, but I know what an incredible powerhouse, totally packed top to bottom with great guests, great talk, great takeaways, and of course, all of the shenanigans that makes, our Teach Better team and Teach Better family what it is. And how, so when you talk about connecting with school leaders and others in the education space that are, maybe literally tearing their hair out, what are one or two of the main things that they're asking for support or your guidance in?
Well, number one, it's sanity. There's a lot of people right now just wondering, is this still the job for them? That right now at this time of year, they're feeling like it's not what they signed up for. And as our friend Brian Zwimke, who leads our Tuesday morning mastermind, says, we're coming out of the F-in month. February is a month with an F on it for a reason. And every single year we tend to feel that way. But March is that opportunity where we can refresh, we can start to cast that vision towards the future. And I'm just trying to remind people to start looking ahead and planting those seeds for the last 3 or 4 months right now towards that vision for what they want next year to look like. If we wait and just hope that next year is going to be different than this year, it won't be. So this is our opportunity to start laying down the pieces.
So here's a conversation that came up on 12-Hour Live, and that is, how do we work with ourselves? How do we shift our own mindsets, or as school leaders or as co-leaders, teacher leaders, how do we shift people's mindsets to looking ahead with optimism, if not energy and enthusiasm, simply a sense of hope? How do we shift that when we know that morale can be and energy can be so low? What's the secret there?
So I'm going to tout an expert who is way smarter than me out of the University of Houston. One of my most favorite people on the planet, Dr. Brene Brown. She is so instrumental in my life. And her most recent book, Atlas of the Heart, reminds us that happiness is a trait, not a state. That far too often we're chasing happiness, looking for it, as opposed to making it a part of who we are and intentionally saying, I'm choosing to be happy today. And then it changes your lens, and that we have to make it a trait of who we are so that we can live our life somewhat through those rose-colored glasses. It doesn't mean putting blinders on and ignoring the reality of things. But when you choose to be happy, you'll find more opportunities to be happy. And I absolutely love that.
Dave, I'm so grateful that we have guests choosing to join us this morning, maybe for their moment of happy. People looking to connect and connection, relationships. Those are the things, in my opinion, that are going to be the most protective and most restorative as we go through awful things. Our colleague Lindsay Titus reminds me, and I try to make a shift whenever I find myself slipping, making that shift from have to get to. When I'm facing tough stuff at work or when I'm coaching others through difficult things, it really is something that we get to do, isn't it? Rather than have to do.
Right. And we've got to make those intentional decisions. We have to make intentional reminders as well. I know our friend Ray Hewitt has tattoos on as well, and I've got some tattoos. We put those things on our bodies at times to remind us of moments or to remind us about well-being, to remind us of things. Lindsay Titus is the sticky note queen. She puts reminders all over her desk and computer. It's okay to put reminders in places to say, choose to be happy, choose to look at this in a different way, choose to be optimistic. It is an intentional choice, and it is an action. It's not something that's just going to fall into your lap. So you've got to make the choice.
Brian Callahan, good morning, Brian, in the comments is letting us know that turning our attention to things to look forward to, activities, bringing people together as a community of learners is key. I'm so grateful because I have 2 or 3 key members on my staff, Dave, who talk about intentionality, recognize that there is a dip as we get out of the F-in month of February there's a dip in morale, a dip in energy. And so they've been intentional about planning activities and planning things that prove both a distraction from the stresses, but also an opportunity to connect through some games, maybe some staff room treats, but again, shifting the focus from what we have to do to what we get to do. And I'm so grateful to them. Have you got people in your life and your network that are helping you stay positive when you feel your own dip or your own energy slipping?
Absolutely. And one of them right there, I was just going to point her out in the comments. I had the opportunity to connect with her this week. Janine Letford, she's going to be one of the keynotes at the conference this October. An absolute rock star, powerhouse.
Yep.
She focuses a lot on creativity and how we can all be creative. But just that conversation with her this week brought a smile to my face that lasted the next day. seeking those people out and having some of those intentional conversations are what matters most to me. It's one of the reasons anytime people say, hey, can you hang out with Brad Hughes? I'm like, I'm in because I know that just an hour with you will last the next day for me. It will force me to smile. I'll be thinking about the conversations we've had. I'll think about your humor and your wit, and it brings a smile to my face. But those are decisions that people have to make. Sometimes it's easier to crawl inside your own shell and hide and say, I don't want to face life. I don't want to see people. But when you make those intentional decisions to find the people that you know bring you joy, then joy does find you.
I love that. Be intentional about finding joy, and joy will find you. Wise words among many that I know that Dr. Dave is going to be dropping with us on the Daily Drop-In this morning. And speaking of intentional, let's take an intentional moment now, Dave, just to thank our audience, those folks in our comments. Maybe you're just joining us, or maybe you're joining us later on the Teach Better Talk podcast. However you join us, whether it's live or taking advantage of our convenient time-shifting options, we are grateful to have you here and would love your feedback. If you like what you hear, please recommend Daily Drop-In and Teach Better podcast to a friend. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. We want to continue to grow our reach and our influence because we think we have value to offer, but that depends on you. And we want to make sure that we're meeting you exactly where you need us to be this Friday morning. And so speaking of Friday mornings, Dave, we typically shift soon to our good news segment, to our holidays. And later we're going to dig into our brainstorm bank, intentional moment to dig into what's on the minds of our community. And Dave, we're going to take a look at the week back, a week of turning data into action. So I want you to be thinking about, is it data or data? I know Ray Hewitt and I were having this conversation too. That's been a big, any thoughts on the data debate, Dave?
Oh, are you ready for me just to drop it and give the answer? Is that what you want?
Okay. Because if we come down on data or data for the episode, then we can hold each other accountable for keeping it consistent through the rest of the show.
Fair enough. So I'm going to say something to you that I know that you can appreciate as a man in Ontario, Canada.
Yep.
I had an extra U in data. It's Dauda for me. I've turned it into a 5-letter Canadian French spelled word with an extra U in it because data is that 4-letter word in schools that we're not allowed to use anymore. That causes more eye rolls and sighs than dropping other 4-letter words in schools. When we whether it's data or data, people will just get upset with you. So I've turned it into a Canadian word, and it's now Dauda. And it tends to make people smile when you say it that way. When you explain that there's an extra U in it, it brings joy to people's lives. So see what you can do. Put a twist on it and see if you can make that word into something that makes people smile instead of groan.
Love it. And there's no doubt that mindset shift, that perspective shift that you're proposing could make the difference in how a conversation about data and putting data into action. And we're going to talk about not just data, but the right data for the right reasons. So we'll be back. We're going to do our good news and our holidays right after this. We'll catch you on the flip side. Dave, one thing I love about Fridays is when I look over on my StreamYard bank here of clips, they're all in the right order. It's almost Brad Hughes proof. Just follow it from the top to the bottom, and we're going to have a smooth show. So good morning, everybody. You're with the Daily Drop-In, Teach Better's daily morning show, Monday to Friday on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. We're glad that you're here, or maybe you're joining us later on the Teach Better Talk podcast. However and wherever and whenever you're joining us, we are glad you're here. So let us know who you are, where you're listening from, what you're up to this morning. What kind of challenges are you looking ahead to? What kind of opportunities and connections do you get to partake in today? What's in your cup? Coffee, tea, diet soda, whatever it is. Let us know who you are, where you're listening from, and we're here for you, and we're here for each other. And Dr. Dave, this is an opportunity for us. Maybe just take a moment and think back on the week and an intentional moment of gratitude, of thankfulness. We've been using the Happy Feed app and our friends at Happy Feed since being introduced to that by Rob Back and Daily Drop-In, I think 2 weeks ago now. I think I'm on a 2-week or a 14-day streak using Happy Feed to intentionally take a moment with or without a prompt to say, hey, what are we grateful for? What are we thankful for? So as you look back on your week, Dave, or if you look ahead to today, what's coming to mind for you in terms of things or people, places, or things that you're thankful for today?
thankful that spring is coming. Being able to see the lilies and the tulips starting to emerge right now just reminds me that the dark days are behind us, and we're going to start seeing more sunshine. Knowing that next week we get to spring ahead and have a later sunset. We get to fully maximize our daylight hours and get outside and absorb some of that vitamin D, again, make some intentional steps, and know that March Madness is on the horizon. College basketball galore. This is truly the greatest month of the year if we embrace it and take it all in.
So true. And it reminds me of our conversation just before the break where, we're shifting from have to get to, and Brian Callahan's comment that if we can shift the mindset by providing things for us to look forward to, things that take us out of our heads and out of our perseverative thoughts and out of our doldrums, things to look forward to. One thing that our family is really missing, Dave, is travel. So we typically approach March break, and we typically plan a trip to your state, Florida, and take in all of the sights and sounds of Disney World. And we love doing that. And we've really missed, the opportunity to plan travel. I wonder if travel plays a role in your life, or just being surrounded by the goodness of Florida. Do you have those travel opportunities just right at hand? And how's that work for you?
Yeah, I do. So one of the advantages to living where I live is a lot of people pass through here in their travels, and I get the opportunity to connect with people. Just this week, I got to have dinner with Katie Powell. She's the director of AMLE, the Association of Middle Level Educators here in the States. So she came through, and I got to hang out with her. I had the opportunity to hang out with Katie Meglin and Joshua Stamper and a lot of others. And I've got some more people coming down in the next week or two. Megan Anderson, I don't know if you're familiar with her work, from Columbus, Ohio, one of our mastermind friends. She'll be down here in a week, and I get to hang out with her as she travels. But next week, I'm actually heading up to Michigan to enjoy some spring up there as I work with some schools. So travel it's important. And now that things are starting to open back up a little bit for people, I'm just hoping that people can lean into that as well and can start to see the world and just gather new perspective again, and not just look at the four walls.
What I love about your approach is it's travel for you and for others, and it all leads back to connection. And when you talk about connecting, for example, with Megan coming and you're home in Florida, providing that sense of, I guess, comfort and welcome to Megan as she makes her way through, and just that opportunity for connection is so important. And you've got family, friends. I've forgotten, is home in Michigan your home state, Dave?
I grew up as a Navy brat, man. So I lived all over the place. I actually went to 16 different schools growing up. So all over. But yeah, I spent the bulk of my career in Michigan. Michigan's actually where I was born. I spent most of my time in the Detroit area. But next week I'll be up in the Grand Rapids area working with some schools. I do have some friends, some family there, but I'm working really hard to make Florida home now.
It's just beautiful. And if I don't have my Happy Feed app open right now, but we're going to capture, and thankfully I can go back and listen to our conversation again later on the Teach Better Talk podcast, Dave. But grateful for the coming of spring and the shift from have to get to, in terms of things that open up those opportunities. That's been a focus of my morning announcements, as I've been shifting our intentional moments as a school community to reflecting on the people, the places, and the things that we're grateful for. And I know that when I do my morning announcements, I have a big window looking out the street in the front of the school, and we can see and feel the shifting temperatures in our part of the world, southwestern Ontario. Many people live in a part of the world where there isn't a whole lot of change in terms of the climate, the temperature, but in those areas where that change is remarkable and noticeable, and as you're riding the waves of temperature change, it just reminds you that the world is literally shifting. The world is shifting, and there's much to look forward to. So I'm going to make sure that we capture your moment of gratitude for the coming of spring in our Happy Feed app. So this is the time of day on Friday mornings, Dave, when if Ray and I are behind the wheel, Ray and I will have a little debate about whether we should do the good news first or the holidays today. And I'd like you to make the call. Would you prefer to hear holidays first or go to the good news story?
I would love to hear the holidays first, because I know that there's a special day coming in 2 days that might not even be on your list. But
March the 6th. See, I've got March the 4th here on my screen, but if you just allow me, I'll just pop open March this. Dave, you're kidding. March the 6th, that special birthday coming up.
I was just talking about Sunday meal.
Sunday.
Yeah. There is a special birthday coming up though on March the 6th.
Our friend Ray Hewart is celebrating a birthday this Sunday, March the 6th. And
It's her
I had the
18th,
opportunity to
people, her
celebrate.
18th birthday.
That's
How
right.
exciting is that?
I was confused. I thought it was 19th, but okay.
And maybe you're right. I don't know. I get them confused. So
I had the pleasure of celebrating my birthday on the day, December 3rd, back with Ray on Daily Drop-In. That was fantastic. I would love everyone, in the comments, or if you have a connection with Ray on social media, to share your love and appreciation for this remarkable woman, remarkable leader in the education space, and a great friend to all of us. No one works harder or advocates more for the needs of teachers and their kids than Ray Hewart. So if you can send her a slice of cake, or raise a glass to her on Sunday, or treat yourself, just make Sunday Treat Yourself Day in honor of Ray Hewart. We want to make sure that she's celebrated and feels all the love. And there's Ray celebrating in the comments there. I think that's the actual size of her birthday hat there, Dave, on that icon. So, Dave,
love it.
I'm going to shift to our holidays today. This comes to us from nationaltoday.com. And Dave, we're not off to a really good start here, because today is National Day of Unplugging. Unplugging, and we've lost Dave. Okay, we've lost Dave. All right. Wow, that was unexpected. That took a turn I wasn't seeing. So in those brief seconds of unplugging, Dave, did you feel a tremendous sense of relief and reconnection with the world around you? Yeah.
Yeah, I rolled a little closer to my coffee, a little closer to the door, and I felt amazing.
Also today, Dave, are National Grammar Day. So I are celebrating National Grammar Day with yous today. What are your thoughts on National Grammar Day?
Yeah, me excited about that.
Me too. But I want to make sure that we are, sending greetings out to all of the grammars and grampers today. I mean, I want to make sure that we're recognizing all those special people today as we strive for, excellent speech and writing, I guess, Dave. And National Hug a GI today. Kudos and best wishes to all of the service members, past and present, especially as we consider, the state of our world and emerging conflicts. And so it's National Hug a GI Day. So, that expression of gratitude. And I just think that's a very touching and intentional moment, Dave. What are your thoughts on National Hug a GI?
Yeah, I think you've given me two reasons now to go see my parents today. My dad is a GI, so I can go give him a hug. And then my mom is my kid's grammar, so I can go give her a hug as well. So I can kill two birds with one stone. I don't know, probably not the right thing to say when I'm talking about my kids' grandparents, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It's incredible, Dave. There are so many holidays. It's Benjamin Harrison Day, the 23rd president of the U.S. It's National Sons, SONS Day, an opportunity for us to reflect on how we shape our sons, both familial and inherited, into responsible and wonderful young men and men. It's March the 4th and Marching Music Day. I guess that makes sense. March the 4th. It's March 4th Day. And it's an invitation to March 4th and carry out your aspirations and dreams. Dave, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had one wild dream, what comes to mind, top of mind, if you had every opportunity, how would you march forth with that wild dream today?
My wild dream is to be able to live my life just sitting on a beach with a beer in my hand or a coffee in my hand, like just doing that all day, every day. That's kind of wild, probably down the road a little bit, but I'm working towards it.
It's incredible. And that would really give you an opportunity to celebrate, National Unplug today, just unplugging, maybe by the seaside, feet in the sand, cold or warm beverage with you. Dave, it's also incredible. National Safety Day, National Pound Cake Day, Toy Soldier Day, National Tartar Sauce Day, something fishy about that, and National Dress in Blue Day. And I didn't even know this. I think you've got a blue T-shirt there, and I've got a blue sweater on today. So I'm really glad that you and I did the 2 a.m. wake up call and coordinated our wardrobes for National Dress in Blue Day.
I feel like I need to go change out though, and then go find a cake to pound. Yep. And some speech just to butcher. So I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be a good day.
Would you be for or against a slather of tartar sauce on that pound cake? Just to so many holidays today. Yeah, I don't know.
You've got to be intentional about your choices, and right. I have a feeling that might ruin the day for me. So I appreciate all those people out there that are buying the fillet of fish today and throwing some tartar sauce on it. I'm going to pass though. I'm going to pass.
I just thought too, when we celebrate National Hug a GI Day, I wonder if any of those GIs will be in their dress blues And so it could be
Ooh.
hug a GI in their Dress Blues Day, and we could just
Bring them a pound cake.
It's a holiday synergy here on the Daily Drop-In. I know there are other holidays I left out. I think there are like 36 holidays today. And we do have a good news story to celebrate, Dave. And I was asking you before we got on the air if you and your family were familiar with the Harry Potter universe at all, whether it's in the novels or the films, or even, they're in Florida visiting the Wizarding World. Harry Potter part of your world?
Never been to the Wizarding World. Did see the movies back when they came out and read the books, but it's been like 15 years. And I know I'm going to offend a bunch of people here when I say I'm not like a total Harry Potter fanatic, but enjoy the stories. And I'm super intrigued about what good news you're bringing today from the Harry Potter world. So, Brad, I'm curious. What do you got for us?
What I've got, Dave, is a real world connection to the chocolate frogs in the Harry Potter universe. Harry Potter universe features chocolate frogs that were unwrapped and magical things and magical flavors, I guess, would happen. And this story comes to us from goodnewsnetwork.org. It's about the discovery of a tiny new species of frog that is, well, it looks like it's been dipped in chocolate syrup, Dave. It's deep brown, it's shiny, and the headline is "Tiny New Species of Chocolate Frog is discovered after scientists follow its unique beep sound." So a beep, the sound of this frog has led scientists to this discovery in Peru, who locals knew as a tiny burrowing frog due to its beep, beep, beep sound that it makes underground. But researchers have found this frog to be extremely elusive until recently. It has a pointy, tapir-like nose, and it's less than an inch in size. That's 6 centimeters for our friends who speak metric. And it's called Synapteranus danta, with danta being the Spanish for tapir. That's the mammal with pig-like features and an elephant-style trunk. After about 20 minutes of digging with their hands, the tiny brown frog was discovered, and they were able to give it an official scientific name and description. And Dave, the discovery of this frog, this beeping chocolate frog, is not only delicious news for the scientific community, but it also is a key indicator of the health of Peru's ecosystem. So I'll make sure to put that link in the comments, and you too can learn more about the real world chocolate frog discovered in Peru.
I've got so many questions.
Please.
Because here where I am, when we say I'm in Florida, people in Florida say, "No, Dave, you're in southern Alabama," because of how far I am. And frog legs are a delicacy here. When we start talking chocolate frogs and this amazing species that talks about the health and well-being of the rainforest, are we saying that this is a frog that people go and enjoy like they might a pound cake today? This is a chocolate frog that they're going to devour? Or is this a frog that we're just celebrating as a chocolate frog because of its color and variation?
We are celebrating the fact that this frog is chocolate colored, and I guess has been nicknamed the chocolate frog. I do not recommend seeking this frog out in Peru and trying to devour it, nor can I confirm nor deny that it might be extremely tasty dipped in tartar sauce or served with a slice of pound cake. Dave, there's nothing in the article referring to consuming this frog. It's a frog that was extremely sought after. I think consuming it might be, ill-advised for a number of reasons, but we want to protect this chocolate frog. We don't want to eat it. If you're into chocolate frogs, I'd say visit your candy store, visit your specialty store, visit Amazon maybe, and just, get the chocolate frog sent to you, but leave this tiny, delicate little tapir-like animal alone. It just wants to be left alone, Dave.
Fair enough. So I think I just discovered a new nickname for myself too. I think I'm going to be Dave Schmittou, the chocolate frog. Sometimes we just want to be left alone. We might look sweet. We might look delicious, but sometimes we just want to be left alone. I like that.
Brian is a man after my own heart, saying it would be quite a leap to try eating one. And Brian, I know that scientists really had to jump to it to discover this frog. And Brian, if you're ever in the neighborhood, want to come over to Dave or my pad and just, talk chocolate frogs, we would love that. Dave, I know that I think it was Mel Torme, the jazz singer Mel Torme, who was known as the Velvet Fog for his dulcet tones. And maybe you could be known not as the chocolate frog, but as the velvet frog, Dave, because I find that you're the timbre, the frequency, the resonance of your voice is quite soothing to this co-host. So what do you think about that? The velvet frog, Dave?
I think that is totally awesome. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it.
We are in the middle of the daily drop-in. We've just celebrated 99 holidays, and we've celebrated a real-life chocolate frog discovered in Peru. Dave, we're going to shift over and we're going to take a few moments of intention for our brainstorm bank. We're going to run the brainstorm bank together. We're going to take a look at data, the right data for the right reasons. Right after this, we'll catch you on the flip side, Dave. Welcome, and welcome back to the Teach Better Team Daily Drop-In, your education morning show, talking shop and talking shenanigans, chocolate frogs, pound cake, tartar sauce, dress blues, and Dr. Dave Schmittou in the house with us today, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn every single weekday, Monday to Friday. And Dave, this is our intentional time, our brainstorm bank time, where we pause and we say to the team, what do you need? And how can we help? You can let us know in the comments if there's anything that's on your mind. Is there anything that you are facing today, a challenge, something that you need shifting from have to get to do today? Is there anything facing you today that Dave and I can help out with? We may not have, in fact, probably don't have the definitive answer, Dave, but this is a space where we can share our thoughts and hopefully help folks take some necessary steps that will improve their day, improve their lives, and kind of smooth the way. So good morning to Sandra in the comments. Sandra, I'm not sure if you any problems of practice coming up for you, please let us know in the comments. And Dave, we've been taking a look this past week at moving from data gathering to putting data into action for the right reasons. And so there are all kinds of sources of data in our school environments. If you had to choose one source of data that you think educators need to pay more attention to, what source or where might that data come from?
Great question. So as educators, we are in the fix-it industry. We are in the industry where we feel like it's our job to go out there and make things better, which makes total sense. I mean, that's what we stand for, is today being better than yesterday and tomorrow's gonna be better than today.
Yeah.
But I think oftentimes we do that by looking for flaws, deficiencies, and weaknesses, that we're looking for areas of concern or struggle, as opposed to identifying strengths, successes, and passions. As educators, I think we need to come to grips with the fact that even if we're getting into the weeds of best practice and research-supported practices, all the research says that learning happens when we build upon success, when we build off of prior foundations, when we recognize what's already there and try to build around it. I think what we need to do is spend more intentional time looking at our students' passions, interests, and God-given skills and talents before we start looking for deficiencies and deficits, and focus on the data that says, what does this student bring to the table, as opposed to what are they lacking?
Dave, I've been reflecting on the kinds of data that we gather this past week, and a lot of data in our school settings in general, I think it falls in the sort of the bucket of product. So it could be tests, essays, projects, reports. But when we think about the triangulation of data, think about gathering data from a variety of sources, I think about observations and anecdotal notes of what we're seeing and hearing. But I also think about conversations with kids. And conversations can be time intensive. They can be energy intensive. They can also be intensive in terms of documenting the results of those conversations. But I'm wondering if there's a connection. I'd like to hear from you about, is there a connection between recognizing and amplifying those strengths and passions and maybe a dearth of data in those two frames, observations and conversations? What are we missing?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm gonna kind of geek out a little bit, but just talk about the difference between quantitative and qualitative data.
Yeah.
As a researcher, a lot of people would say that quantitative data is the more reliable, the more valid. It's when you're seeking numbers to support an argument. Qualitative data used to be seen as the narrative fluff, the story behind it. But the tides have kind of shifted, and people have realized that lives are lived through stories. Lives are lived through experiences. Knowledge is simply a series of images, pictures in people's heads that we articulate through communication. So experiencing qualitative data, sitting down and having conversations, seeking the narrative explanation of what somebody knows is actually now it's shifting to being seen as the more reliable, valid source of data collection. So yeah, as a teacher, as an educator, having those conversations, seeking the narrative story behind a kid's experience, a student's knowledge, a student's understanding, is actually going to be more reliable for you, the communicator in their life, the storyteller in their life, to know what the next story is that you need to present to a kid. It's the easiest way to figure out a student's strengths and passions as well, as opposed to trying to do it in some sort of quantitative numerical fashion.
Dave, Lori Ann here in the comments is asking about homework, and I'm wondering if there is a role for homework as part of a data cycle, the right kind of data for the right reasons. And is homework something where we're likely to leverage or find out about kids' passions and interests?
It can be. It absolutely can be. I think this is another one of those areas where the pendulum swings often in education because we throw the baby out with the bathwater. We tend to say all or nothing, all out or get out. And we do it with conversations like homework. We have some people that say we should never give homework, and that upsets the people that say, well, sometimes there is a purpose for homework. I'm a believer that homework can at times serve a purpose, but it should never be served to punish, label, or indict when a student has other things going on. For example, I've got a 16-year-old at home. We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
We've started a job now. He's working 5 nights a week. He has to show up at work at 4:30 in the afternoon, and he's there until at 10:30 at night. And I'll tell you, he is learning a ton being at work. Probably learning more there than he would if he had to bring home a geometry or algebra 2 worksheet to work on outside of school. However, I also have a second grader who might love doing some activities with us and having a conversation about something that they learned at school. If it can enhance, if it's seen as an opportunity to experience life and to make those connections, or for that kid to then bring home, to bring communication from school to home or vice versa, go for it. But when we start requiring it and assuming that everybody's home life looks just like our home life and everybody's schedule outside of school looks just like our schedule, that's when we're setting kids up for failure.
Dave, I wonder if that's part of the power struggle that Lori Ann is describing here, where if we're looking for evidence of a product that's either complete or not, and if we're taking a moralistic view that I assigned it, you do it, that's your responsibility, without looking a little bit deeper to the observations and the conversations to help me understand why this wasn't completed. Well, let's face it, kids are going to be unlikely to complete anything that has little value, interest, or worth to them. And if as educators we're completely reliant on the power struggle, the power dynamic, I assigned it, you do it, you bring it back. If you don't, you're in trouble. That I think that there's little value in that, and there's absolutely zero value in developing a positive relationship or getting at the kids' passions and also getting at the kids' challenges. So what do you think about this power struggle sense? I assigned it, you do it, it comes back, there's something wrong with you. I'm the teacher, you're the student, figure it out. Like, how can we move past that power struggle to some more compassionate ways of assigning and monitoring homework?
Yeah, I tweeted something this week focusing on leadership, but I think it applies here. I wrote something to the effect of too many leaders have a my way or the highway mentality, and they get frustrated when so many people choose the highway. I could argue educators tend to do the same thing. It's my way or the highway, and we get frustrated when kids choose the highway. Whenever we try to exert authority or demand compliance, we're going to have some kids that say challenge accepted, because that's what we as human beings do. Our goal, going back to my early premises, to lean into kids and say, what are you passionate about? What are you skilled at? What brings you joy and happiness? And it's our responsibility as educators to lean into that, to leverage that, to allow kids to experience that. So anytime we can allow a kid to shine, to amplify their voice, to amplify who they are as people and what makes them tick, they're going to be more inclined to share and celebrate with us. And we're going to get more authentic experiences from kids, more authentic work, more authentic evidence, because it's in somewhere that's within their wheelhouse, something within their passion and their interests. So simply lean in and ask kids, allow them to have a voice in the process.
Dave, do you think that power struggles, when they come up in terms of homework or really in terms of any kind of classroom dynamic, any kind of student-teacher relationship, are those power struggles inevitable, or could they reveal maybe either a lack of investment yet or a lack of capacity or professional knowledge yet to invest in the relationship with the kid?
Well, I think everything that we experience is an opportunity for us to reflect and say, how can I make this better? I don't want to say the best teachers never have power struggles. That's not the reality. We understand that we're working with kids, children who haven't quite figured out how to navigate this thing called life. However, I also understand that as adults, a lot of us haven't either. And oftentimes we dig in our heels and say, it worked for me, so you have to do it the same way that it worked for me. Whereas oftentimes as educators, we can look at the kid and say, wow, that's working for you. How can I leverage up that? It needs to be a symbiotic relationship. So power struggles, they are inevitable. Digging in our heels, though, doesn't have to be inevitable. We can learn from every experience that we encounter. We can learn from kids just as we expect kids to learn from us.
Dave, given that homework, well, it goes home and it can be completed, actually it's completed outside of the educator's purview, outside of their influence. Is homework coming back a valid source of data? Is it a valid source of student learning? And in what part of the learning cycle might it be appropriate for homework to be used as data to keep the learning moving forward?
This is a loaded question that opens up Pandora's box, Brad. So I know we only have a few minutes here. Let me tell you what it tends to do versus what it should do. What it tends to do is it tends to open up judgment and condemnation on our part. When homework doesn't come back, we tend to come up with a bunch of reasons in our head as to why that student or that family didn't value school as much as we thought they should have. When in reality, what's happening is we often didn't value their home and their life as well as we should have. So yeah, it's an excellent opportunity to collect data or data, but not necessarily always on the academic sense of is this student demonstrating mastery? It's an opportunity for us to say, what's happening in your world? I'm a firm believer that if you're assigning homework should be an opportunity to reflect and to review what has already happened. It should never be the opportunity for primary learning to take place. It's an opportunity for a student to say, is anything I learned in school applicable or transferable to the real world? And if so, how? So giving students opportunities to reflect on their learning, to solidify their thinking, to have conversations about their thinking or learning, either with an adult peer, with a friend, a family, a sibling, a bus driver, anybody else, is an opportunity, and it's a valid opportunity for homework. But if it's simply compliance and drill and kill and do more of the same that you just did in school, then we might need to find some more effective uses of our time.
Dave, just one last question, because I'd like Lori-Ann to have a takeaway about the homework discussion, the homework debate. Are there one or two strategies that you would suggest an educator who is engaged in a power struggle with his or her students or a student about homework completion? One or two tips, one or two takeaways that they could try, whether it's a shift in perspective or something practical they could do to re-engage with the student and to dissolve this power struggle?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think number one, it's always about having a purpose behind every intentional decision you make. So if at the end of a class period, if you're thinking in your head, you need to assign homework to a kid, having an understanding of the purpose behind your lesson, the purpose behind that class, the purpose behind your given assignment that you're about to send home, and then simply asking students, if you have another way to prove to me that you know this, that you understand this, I am all ears. Give students a choice. There are some kids that might be able to prove to you before they leave that day that they've already got it and they don't need to do anything else at home. Other kids might say, I simply need some more time to do something at home. Give them that opportunity. But you need to have the purpose in mind behind what the ultimate learning goal is. And that learning goal should not be everybody needs to learn how to do things at home. Because as adults, we don't want that expectation. We don't want our leaders coming to us and saying, you need to go home and work for another 2 or 3 hours outside of the workday. There needs to be an intentional purpose behind it. So if you can have a negotiation with the kid to allow them to feel like they're invested in the process, so they feel like they have a voice in the outcome, while you're still holding up your high expectations and saying, I've got to get you to mastery, I've got to get you to proficiency, I've got to collect evidence of your competency, go for it. Allow the kid to come up with another alternative if your alternative isn't valid for them.
Dave, so good. And, my challenge is, what if we peeled back the layers, just like as you're describing? What if we pulled back the mystery of why we're collecting the data? What's the purpose? And how we as educators, are we sharing with our students the reason we're gathering the data? And is that reason aligned with their growth rather than meeting our needs, expectations, and obligations? Dave, fantastic conversation. We hope that's leaving our listeners and viewers with some practical takeaways, as well as, Dave and I, our shared commitment to making sure that you're supported in your continued use of data as a tool, and also sustaining your relationships with your students. Dave, we're going to shift over to our recap of the week. We're going to take a look and listen back to our some of our guests this week, and we're going to look ahead to next week. How's that sound?
Sounds perfect.
Fantastic. Welcome back. That's our favorite groove, Dave. Did that kind of get you in the mood there? That shift to that last transition there?
It does. I'm reminded back in the days, like when people had flip phones and they would come up with their own ringers for everybody. I feel like I want to make that my Brad Hughes ringer somehow. So anytime I get a text or something from you, that's what pops up. And I'm like, oh, Brad's on the line. You're
very welcome to do that. I suggested to Ray Hewart that she make that theme her Happy Feed app notification. Happy Feed will give you a reminder that it's time for you to, take a moment for reflection and gratitude. So encourage you to set your reminders every weekday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Central, or real time, as Ray Hewart would say, for our daily drop-in. And so as we recap our week on Daily Drop-In, we've had some amazing guests who've been talking about the intentional use of and the shift of research into action, working with data close to home to find solutions for our students. And I think where we all landed is that the information we need to help move our students forward is closer than we think. And Dave, I think something else that was uncovered was that the student learning needs that are uncovered by the research we gather, those actually equate to the professional learning needs. Do we as educators have the capacity and the tools and the professional knowledge to leverage that data to improve things for kids? Can it be one without the other, Dave?
It can be. It shouldn't be. Well, first of all, I got to compliment you. You've used data just as many times as you used data today. So I'm not offending the masses here today, Brad. I'm really proud of you. So you're making sure that you're speaking both languages for anybody that's confused on what the conversation is. So well done. But yeah, it can be, but it shouldn't be. It's the adage that I say often, that we tend to put formative assessment in one camp and summative assessment in another camp, as opposed to using it all formatively, which is truly the goal. All assessment, all evidence of student learning should lead to action on our part. So anytime we're collecting student data, it should inform us of what our next steps are, or what we still need to know and learn as professionals or as people, to both interact with the individual student and to grow ourselves pedagogically. So they should be symbiotic, they should be related, but unfortunately they're not always applied that way.
Dave, I agree. And I also know that I've had conversations with educators and trying to shift thinking from there's something wrong with the kids, they're just not getting it, to there's something that I need. And that I think is really powerful for a school leader to leverage. Is that it's nothing wrong with the kids. It's something that you need, but also it's something that we need to figure out together. It's the pressure plus support to move kids forward. And there's lots of support on our Monday morning drop-in, Dave. Lots of support with the fabulous Ray Hewart and Jeff Gargas, who kick off our Monday morning discussion this week, focusing on research into action. And then Tuesday, Ray's guest was Sarah Lane, who was from an organization near and dear to my heart, Roots of Empathy, a social emotional learning program where schools partner with community families, including a baby. And the baby visits the classroom, or more recently, Dave, due to COVID, the baby will make a virtual visit. Kids learn to recognize and celebrate the baby's milestones in development, and it really grows empathy and love in practice. I wonder if you had the opportunity to hear any of that discussion, or what your thoughts are about, babies as tiny teachers, Dave. What do we have to learn from babies?
So first of all, I get the opportunity. I listen to Daily Drop-In in my ears at the gym every morning. So it's great motivation and a great smile maker. And, as a father of 4 kids, I can tell you I've never learned anything more in my life than I have becoming a father and experiencing life through the eyes of my own children and my own babies. Babies are tremendous teachers. If we afford ourselves the vulnerability to say, yes, even I can learn from a baby, absolutely. But open yourself up to it.
Dave, Brian Callahan's in our comments this morning. Good morning, Brian. Brian was our guest on Daily Drop-In. with Ray on Wednesday, and that was followed up with a fantastic session with Tom Hirk on Thursday. That was yesterday, and Tom, a Canadian educator like myself, again, talking about the data that we use to help move kids forward. I wonder if you can summarize or think back about your gym listening, maybe one or two key takeaways from any of our valued guests this week. Was there a mind or a perspective shift at all for you, or did it serve to reinforce sort of your beliefs about the value of research data and translating it into learning?
Yeah, I mean, I was reminded and sometimes confirmed and sometimes convicted. Yeah, sometimes we look at data or data as though it's an extra thing as opposed to confirmation evidence of what we're supposed to already know. I believe that all assessment, all data is a Sir Mix-a-Lot assessment. There's lots of big buts anytime we collect data. There's always a but that we throw in our heads or into our mindset and into our practice when we collect a data source, whether it's our own data or data given to us by an outside organization or the state or anybody else we look at and say, yeah, but they don't know this. So we need to be using data in conjunction to confirm or to dismiss what we already know. Not just to throw it to the side and say, but they don't know as much as I do. To look at it and say, well, what do they know that I don't? Always look at data or data to say, what is this telling me that I still need to know more about? All good data should lead to the next question.
All good data should lead to the next question. And I think that's the goal of research, isn't it, Dave? And I think a lot of the work that we do as educators and practitioners could and should be classified as research. We are action researching, we're positing, we're hypothesizing, we're wondering what's it going to take for a child to be as successful as he or she can be, and continuing to try, continuing to iterate the process forward. But it all comes down to the try. And we started our conversation today, Dave, around recognizing that those tries, those intentional, I get to rather than I need to or have to, that all depends on managing our own energy. So I hope that all of us are reflecting back on not only the intentional steps that we can take to shift any perspectives on research into action, but also protecting the energy and protecting our equilibrium where we can to make sure that we can invest in that. And looking forward next week, Dave, our focus on Daily Drop-In is going to be a tech resource refresh. And I know that so many of our Teach Better family members are using technology with intention to do just what we're proposing, is to engage, celebrate, leverage the strengths and passions of kids. For some, it draws them in. For some, it keeps them engaged. And for others, it makes sure that they can produce or share evidence of their learning in ways that engage themselves and engage others. So we've got some incredible guests coming up. Of course, on Monday, Ray and Jeff kick off the week with some fun, some shenanigans. Of course, they are a dynamic duo, and they'll kick off the week on Monday. And Dave, on Tuesday, Ray is joined by Ashley Haynes in the Daily Drop-In space. Looking forward to meeting Ashley and getting to know her. On Wednesday, Dave, new author Aaron Menu joins Ray Huard. And Aaron is the author of a new book, Slow Down, Children Are Learning. And Aaron is one of those folks that is really intentional about beginning to leverage technology to make sure that kids continue to invest in those foundational skills. I know that you know and are a fan of Aaron's as well, Dave.
Yeah, I'm super, super excited about that. She's another Michigander now, a new Michigander, and can't wait to hear that conversation. Her and Ray together are going to be amazing.
And Dave, Danae Acker is joining Ray on Thursday for the Daily Drop-In space. Look forward to welcoming Danae. And then, of course, Ray and I will be back in the saddle again on Friday to celebrate a week of learning. And to reconnect. I think it'll feel like it's been a month since I've seen her talk with Ray Huard, but I sure am glad, Dave, to have shared this space and this conversation with you. And based on the engagement of our guests and listeners, it's been resonant, and we hope that folks are taking things away that are going to make their life and their world a little bit better today. Dave, what kind of exciting opportunities do you get to engage in as you face your Friday?
I get to have a meeting in a little bit with the amazing Chad Ostrowski. I don't know if people are familiar with his work, but super excited to be able to do that. I also have a couple other meetings with some leaders from around the country just to connect again and lean in. And those always leave me feeling edified and filled. So looking forward to that. And then there's always daddy carpool duty. Got some kids I got to shuffle around. So those duties never fail. So I get to play daddy, whatever today. I'm going to go find a pound cake at some point. I'm going to go hug a GI, going to go throw on some blue, celebrate the holidays that we have going on.
Dave, as you're carpooling around, would you please be extra mindful of any chocolate frogs crossing the street? And if you can, in your community, just make sure that the chocolate frog crossing signs are going up. Maybe you want to put a couple of bottles of tartar sauce in your holster there, Dave, and you're ready to start the day with our 99 holidays. Dave Schmittou, always a tremendous pleasure to connect. I get better because of your presence and influence, and I've truly enjoyed our conversation this morning. Thank you for being my daily drop-in buddy today, Dave.
You are the real deal, Brad Hughes. Anytime I can hang out with you, I am in, sir.
It's my pleasure. It's a pleasure to welcome you back to the space today, and will be a pleasure to reconnect with you on Monday. All of us here at Teach Better wish you the best Friday ahead. Dave and I have a great feeling that it's going to be the best Friday that you can experience. Make sure that you take time this weekend to rest, restore, reconnect with the people, places, and things that bring you joy so that you can reinvest that energy for the betterment of your kids and the people that you serve. So all the best to you this weekend. We look forward to reconnecting with you next week on Daily Drop-In, 7 a.m. Eastern, Monday morning with Dave and Jeff. Thanks again, Dave.